now, the For Pete's Sake podcast, hosted by Rob Blackman and Joey Mulinaro.
Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of 2026 of For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. Technically, it's episode number 10, but it's the first one in the new year. I'm Rob Blackman. He's Joey Mulinaro. And to you, we say a belated Happy New Year. Joseph, nice to see you here in 2026. It feels like it's been forever since you and I have gotten together to do a podcast.
I feel like I haven't seen you in a year. Says last name, right? No, man, it's great to see you. I missed you, man. I missed being up here. I missed recording. I missed talking about Purdue Athletics. And a big shout out to you. Can we get a round of applause? Indiana Sportscaster of the Year, Rob Blackman. That's the news that broke since the last time we've been together, right?
Thank you. That's very kind of you. And yes, named the Indiana Sportscaster of the Year. Almost said National Sportscaster now, which would have been even better. I think Sean McDonough won it this season. But yes, thank you. That was quite a nice surprise. I actually got that phone call, believe it or not, on January 1st, New Year's Day. I saw it ringing in, a number from North Carolina. It's New Year's Day. It's the afternoon. I'm like, I'm not taking this number. This is obviously spam. Who would call on New Year's Day? Well, once I listened to the message later that evening, congratulating me for being named Indiana Sportscaster of the Year. So that's kind of a great way to start your new year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Is it kind of like the Pro Football Hall of Fame? You know, the big David Baker guy who comes and knocks on the door. Is it kind of similar to that situation?
Yeah, I don't know if it's quite that exciting.
Yeah.
But it was exciting for me. Let me put it to you that way. Again, a great way to start 2026. Thank you.
Well deserved.
Hey, before we move along here, I do want to ask you about your event in Chicago. Last time we had spoken, you were getting ready to do an event and a comedy show up in Chicago just before Christmas.
Yep.
And it's my understanding there were a ton of Boilermakers in the audience that night.
It was a big night. It was a lot of fun. Zanies, packed house for me and Ben Polizzi. These guys live a few days before Christmas. We had a ton of fun. And yeah, there's over 110 people that were in attendance. And Zanies is it's a good classic comedy club. Low ceilings, tight walls, people on top of each other. You know, the laughter can kind of echo, right? So
Sure.
It was a good setup. It was a great crowd. And then afterwards did have numerous Purdue folks, or whether they're just fans or they're alums or fans of the show, came up and said, hey, love For Pete's Sake, love what you and Rob do, boiler up, here we go. And so that was really, really nice to hear that folks are listening, for that call out by you, which I appreciate. But then also that we got a little bit of crossover between the Purdue folks and the folks who maybe just follow Joey and what I do on the side with the handsome guy from reality TV.
That is pretty awesome. Well, for those folks and all the rest of you that are fans of For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics, here is what we have lined up for you today. Since it's the first show of the new year, Joey and I thought it would be best to go with the big kahuna, the top dog, the director of intercollegiate athletics here at Purdue. Mike Bobinski is going to join us.
Really, really engaging conversation. And we talked with him for over 30 minutes of his time. And, you know, he's a busy man, got a lot going on. So, and we hit on everything. I mean, everything you can imagine with all the craziness in the new world of college athletics, NIL, portal, the money coming in, the money going out, where it's going to, football. I mean, everything. So definitely want to stay tuned for that. Hell of a conversation.
Also joining us on the show today, how about fifth-year senior Trey Kaufman-Renn of the Purdue men's basketball team?
Yeah, and you've told me, and I see that he's a philosophy major, and you told me he's a very deep, thoughtful guy, as you would expect for a philosophy major. It's my first time talking to him. So I'm interested. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited.
I'm a little nervous about talking to Mike Bobinski. I mean, not often you get the top dog. So you're nervous, I'm nervous. Heck of a way to start the new year.
It means you care. That's what I've been told, is when you're nervous, when you have the nerves, it means you care. And we do care very much about this show and about you, the Purdue fan.
Which is why we will bring to you, when we return, the Lafayette Limo liftoff segment. Lots of things happening with Purdue Athletics here at the turn of the year. We'll tell you about it next. This is For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics, brought to you by the Tom Wood Group. And with that, we welcome you back to For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. It is brought to you by the Tom Wood Group. Let us move on to our Lafayette Limo liftoff segment. Lafayette Limo, family-owned, women-owned, serving Greater Lafayette for over 38 years. Shuttles to and from Indianapolis and O'Hare, 365 days a year. Make sure your reservations can be found by going to LafayetteLimo.com. Lafayette Limo, proud sponsor of Purdue Athletics. Lots of things to talk about here, Joseph, with things that are happening currently as the calendar is turned to 2026 for our Purdue Boilermakers. Let us start with the Purdue women's basketball program.
Yeah, KG off to a good start. Her crew in 2026, 2 conference wins already, which includes that big-time 78-72 overtime win against 23rd ranked Washington at Mackey Arena. That was back on January 11th. And also, big shout-out to Madison Layden-Zay. In that ball game, became the all-time leader for 3-point buckets made in Purdue women's basketball history. So not only a ranked win, which is also the first win over a ranked opponent since 2022, 2023, and the first at home since 2018, 2019, all that combined with history being made for Madison Layden-Zay, all-time leader in 3-point baskets for the Purdue women's basketball program. And then coming up, you got Sunday against IU, noon tip. So obviously we know that the fellas are going to be going 3 o'clock against Illinois. Just stick around, stay up here for the whole weekend, come back out noon against IU. Got to beat them Hoosiers. That's a noon tip again. And then Thursday next week, they will be at home once again against Michigan State. So a few more games coming up here in the next week to go check out KG and the Lady Boilermakers.
Playing against those Hoosiers for the old barn burner trophy. Purdue wrestling off to a great start, as we knew they would be, currently ranked 17th in the country. We mentioned this a couple times in the podcast, the last couple chances we've had, but I want to mention it one more time. Don't forget, February the 1st at Mackey Arena against Wisconsin. It's Mackey Mania. It's the one time per year that the Purdue wrestling team invades Mackey Arena for a battle against a Big Ten opponent. It just happens to be the Wisconsin Badgers. 1 o'clock, February 1 in Mackey for wrestling, Purdue and Wisconsin. The only bad news for our Boilermakers here as of late, Joey Blaze has been out with injury. What a great guest he was here on the podcast. But we expect to have him back and healthy soon, and can't happen soon enough for the wrestling Boilermakers. Quick note on Purdue baseball softball. Believe it or not, I know it's late January, and I also know that, at the time of the taping of this podcast, we're looking forward to a wind chill factor of about -4 degrees or so tomorrow. But it is almost time for softball and baseball. Softball team will actually start the season February the 6th. They'll be out in Las Vegas for their first game of the year. They'll be playing against Cal Baptist. Again, February 6th. That is not that far away, fans. Purdue baseball. First pitch dinner, which has become a pretty popular event for Purdue baseball. It got started by Mark Wazakowski a few years ago. Coach Greg Goff has continued it. First pitch dinner, still tickets available. Saturday, January 31st, 6 o'clock. Purdue alumnus Brandon Buck, who's now a motivational speaker and a high school baseball coach. He is the featured speaker that night. You can still purchase a ticket if you'd like to attend that event, and also mark on your calendar, fans of baseball, February 6th, 7th, that weekend, because that weekend Purdue baseball is going to have its annual Fan Fest inside of Mollenkopf. So almost time for baseball, softball, believe it or not, my good friend.
Are you one of those guys, when pitchers and catchers report, you got that date locked in?
I'm a baseball nerd, but not that big of a nerd. I apologize.
It's okay. You don't have to apologize because I'm not either. But it is coming up. Quicker than you'd think, and nothing like having that time of year roll around. Spring coming, warm weather, baseball, softball. Let's get it. Was big earlier the month for you. You said January 1st, New Year's Day. You got the call. Indiana Sportscaster of the Year.
Yeah.
Was also a big start to the year 2026 for friend of the show, one of the regulars, guy we love, Dave Shondell.
Oh, yeah.
Got the contract extension, 4-year contract extension earlier this month for Coach Shondell. We know 2025 was really, really impressive, a big one, obviously well-earned for the contract extension for what the Boilermakers were able to do. Regional final berth, the Elite Eight there, 3rd place in the Big Ten, which Big Ten, no slouch in volleyball, 27-7, 15-5 in the Big Ten, and they had 3 All-America honorees. So happy to have Coach Shondell back in the fold, running the show for at least 4 more years, and continuing to just mount success there with the volleyball squad.
And he's a great guest on the podcast.
Really good.
We're really pleased that he does get to stick around for a few more years.
Hoping to maybe keep massaging that lake house invite. Had some more time for for me to be able to see if I can get that out there.
We'll keep sucking up to Coach Shondell while we can. Time for us to take a short break. When we come back, we've already previewed it, but let us remind you, we're going to start 2026 with a bang because the athletic director here at Purdue University, Mike Bobinski, in his 10th year as the AD of Purdue Athletics, is about to join us, and we have a ton of topics to cover with Mike, and we're going to do that when we come back. This is For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics, and it's brought to you by the Tom Wood Group. And we welcome you back to For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics, episode number 10. And as promised, sitting to our immediate left is the athletic director here at Purdue University. He is Mike Bobinski. He is our Ford Big Interview segment. Your Central Indiana Ford dealers, proud sponsors of Purdue Athletics. Visit your local Central Indiana Ford dealer today. Mike, thank you for giving us some time here today.
Good to be.
I'm going to, right off the top, we're going to start with the elephant in the room, if you're okay with that, and that is football.
Football. Yes,
Although,
sir.
as you well know, in any Power 4 conference, football is the elephant in the room no matter where you're at, so
Absolutely.
probably no surprise there. First season of Barry Odom in the books.
Yep.
Wins and losses wise, certainly not what you were looking for. 2-10 overall, 0-9 in the league, as you well know.
Sure.
But you're now basically a calendar year into working with Coach Odom, right? Base of calendar year.
Yeah.
After being with Coach for a year, what is it that gives you the confidence that indeed Barry Odom has this program trending the right direction?
Sure. Having done this, I mean, as I look at the bio that you guys shared here, spanning 5 decades, done this for a while, and you sort of get a sense of coaches that really have their act together and really understand what it takes, and have the sort of the persistence and the stick-to-itiveness to see it through when it isn't particularly going well, which obviously last year was the case. We left a couple of them on the field for sure where we had chances, but we just weren't quite good enough. Didn't know how to win. A lot of things didn't go our way. But Barry consistently stayed the course with his messaging to our team, to his staff, about what the long play was here, the long game, as to how we're going to build this thing. And while it was frustrating, I mean, like unbelievably frustrating. I mean, there were a couple of them afterwards where we all are just trying to pick each other up here off the ground and say, okay, we got to, players can't see that. We got to keep fighting here. But his, ability to immediately snap back and just continue the process of building a set of expectations, a set of accountability markers for his players, and never lowering the standard. That's the one thing you can't do when things aren't going well. You can't just say, well, that's good enough, because good enough isn't going to work. Not in the Big Ten, not at the level we're trying to compete at. So he really, really stuck to what it is we need to get done. And while we came up short last year, I think he and his staff had a very clear sense coming out of last year where our gaps were talent-wise, and they were real. There's no question. I mean, we all watched the games, and particularly when you were able to see them up close, we didn't have the troops that we needed in every spot to be able to win in the Big Ten. And so they've gone out and I think had a very, very successful transfer portal window here, where we have added players that I think, I know Barry believes, his staff believes, will clearly move us in a better direction here, and coupling that with a really nice freshman recruiting class, which is part of the strategy going forward. We're just not going to be a transactional, out with the old, in with the new every year. That's just not a recipe for success here at Purdue. We've got to have a foundation and a base of guys that will develop over the course of their career, that will grow into really good players. And then you supplement that with your transfer work. And I think that's the formula that we're working towards right now. I think we've just seen that happen over these last couple of weeks, and the proof will be in the pudding, but we feel like we've made some real progress.
Is that formula because you feel like maybe sort of a lack of resources that Purdue can provide and offer, or is that just more of a belief of how the standard is that you guys want to build your program with? There's a little bit of both.
No, it's really the standard of how we want to build our program, Joey, and it's really what works here at Purdue. I mean, to think that we're just going to go out and buy a new roster every year is not. It doesn't resonate with the Purdue community, doesn't resonate with Purdue leadership, doesn't resonate with Coach Odom or me, to be honest with you. That's not how we're going to do it. And I would tell you that if you look at others around the country, very few people are able to just sort of bring in a whole new roster. You might bring in a couple of difference-making type players, and that's certainly going to be on our radar to be able to do that. We're not going to walk away from folks that we think can really make a difference, but you're not going to do that 22 deep every year. That's not a way that's going to persist and allow you to build something that sustains itself. Then you're just rolling the dice every year and hoping for the best. That's not how we believe long-term success is achieved.
Revenue sharing.
Revenue sharing, yeah.
That is a big topic.
I accept. I hope.
So would we, by the way. If you have a little extra for the podcast crew, we'd be pleased to accept.
We're doing all right. Tom Wood, Lafayette Limo, he got some pretty good ones.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
We're making our way.
I believe if I read the number correctly, starting with the next coming football season, that number of revenue share will be $21.3 million, somewhere right in there.
21,320 is what the settlement calls for in the 26-27 year.
And you're on the record as saying football here at Purdue gets 70+% of that.
Yeah.
Two questions here. Number one, is that pretty much in line with what everyone else in the Big Ten is doing?
Pretty close. Within a pretty tight standard deviation, plus or minus, it's very close to what everyone's doing.
And then secondly, is that money then is just at the discretion of the staff as how they want to spend it? Is that how the process works?
And it's really our general manager, Brandon Lee, our director of player personnel, Butler Benton, Coach Odom, all sitting down and trying to figure out, okay, what's the right way to deploy the resources that we have? Not only the revenue share, but the NIL that sits on top of that. What's the most productive way for us to intelligently and strategically use those resources to build the very best roster possible here at Purdue? And it's a whole new world. I mean, this is a brand new thing. We're literally just entering into year 2 of it. And I would like to tell you that I think that they have done a really, really good job of understanding what value really means and how to compensate that value and how to build the very best roster for us here at Purdue. It's been really enlightening and informative to watch them put a strategy together. And so far, I think we are executing to that strategy pretty successfully.
Is there a solid belief and a good working relationship with the school leadership, their understanding of what a successful, highly successful, sustainable football program does for not just the fans and for the football team, but for the school itself?
Absolutely. And I would say that starts with our president, President Chang. Absolutely is. I mean, he's very much of the belief, if we're going to do something, we need to do it well. We're not just going to do it to do it. Let's do it well. Let's compete. Let's win. And I appreciate that. And that trickles absolutely up through our board of trustees who have been, my now 10th year here. They've been incredibly aligned and supportive of everything we're trying to do here in athletics. I mean, there's an expectation that we do it the Purdue way, do it the right way. But they're also understanding that it's important to win. I mean, that's just part of it. If you can't go out there every weekend, every game, and not have a legitimate chance to win, it becomes a depressing, to be honest with you, for everybody. But no, I think they truly understand, and they understand how much it means to Purdue alums and Purdue fans and our local and regional communities, how much winning means. It changes the vibe. There's no question. It's just people like to be associated with entities that win, that are successful, and that matters to us. So yeah, I have no issue whatsoever. We are completely in alignment and fully compatible with our belief and understanding of how important it is for us to win. And winning in football matters. I mean, it just does. I mean, look a couple hours south. I mean, that's that has been an amazing transformation for them around that sport. I mean, it's for years it was just there, and to see sort of the uprising of pride and everything around that. That's what athletics can do. It's a unique entity, and having it done and done well matters.
To follow up on that, the importance of football.
Yeah.
Again, let's say 75% of rev share goes to football. Yeah. At least 25% for everybody else. Just how is the rest of that distributed with the other sports?
Sure. Well, obviously we have a very strong and important men's basketball franchise here at Purdue. A long history of success, and we need to make sure that we give them everything that they need in order to maintain that level of success. And so they are the next mouth that gets fed, and gets fed significantly out of the remaining portion of our revenue share. And again, there are NIL opportunities that sit on top of that, particularly in basketball. When you've got fewer players, we've been fortunate to have high-profile players that command NIL in the actual real-world marketplace, and that's a really good thing for them and for us as a program. But yeah, we've got to make sure we take care of men's basketball in a way that allows them to never feel like they have to take a back seat.
And that's the NIL opportunities for guys like Braid Smith. Anybody on the team that's separate from what you? Okay,
yeah.
So there's on top of. Got it. Okay,
and that's part of the Boiler brand works, right? I think there's been some confusion, certainly with me and with fans, because for a while we had Boilermaker Alliance. Now it's Boiler brand works. That's the NIL arm of
that. Was our internal NIL operation. We work hand in hand with Purdue Sports Properties, our Learfield partner that operates, all day, every day, working with corporate entities around the Purdue athletic program, and really they've done a great job and continue to really aggressively look for NIL opportunities with their existing partners. So expanding their partnership beyond scoreboard signage, radio ads, whatever it might be, as popular as having a spot on a broadcast with you, Rob, might be. Once in a while, it's not bad to have something with Braden or Trey or Fetch or whomever. Those are good opportunities, and then they continue to grow on behalf of our athletes, which is a good thing.
Gotcha.
I was watching your roundtable from earlier this month, and talking about NIL and the contracts that you guys set in place and these guys sign, and you mentioned how there needs to be a bit more consequences for these in terms of wanting to break. You can't live in this constant state of free agency while also getting paid, how do you implement those consequences? Have you thought about that? What's the best way moving forward to where you can say, hey, I know you might be upset, but this is part of your deal that you signed?
Sure. I think again, we're in early days of this new model in college athletics, very early days. It began on July 1st of 2025. So we're not even 7 months fully into it yet. And already you hear lots of noise about, well, this isn't working. We can't do this. Part of it is getting an understanding amongst our student athlete population that, hey, this is now grown-up time. We're sort of fast forwarding your evolution as a young person, as a young adult. If you're going to be in the world of compensation and all that goes with that, having expectations, commitments, accountability for the decisions that you make is part of it. It is part of all that comes with it. It can't be dollars and support without some level of commitment and some level of accountability to what you've agreed to. And a contract is just that. I mean, there are very basic principles of contract law. I mean, you make an offer, you accept the offer, as long as you weren't under duress when you accepted that offer. And in this case, as I've mentioned before, most of our athletes, particularly those that have significant rev share value or NIL value, they all have advisors, they all have agents, they have people working with them. So they're not doing this in a vacuum. They're not doing this just on the seat of their pants here. They are getting advised as to, yes, this is a good deal. You should accept this. Well, once you sign that document, assuming that you've read through it, in there are those tenets of responsibility and accountability, and the fact that we now have purchased your rights for a period, whatever the period of that agreement is, whether it be a 1 year, whether it be a 2 year. There's a high profile case going on right now involving Duke and obviously a football player, quarterback at Duke, who signed an agreement, a very lucrative agreement, and then now seems to have the interest in going somewhere else. Well, sign a contract. I mean, again, the contracts, they have to mean something. And if nothing means anything, if you live without any structure, I mean, at some point the entity just sort of dissolves. I mean, you have to have some structure. I mean, everybody says, well, free market. Yeah, free market's great, but there are regulations that govern the free market.
Right.
There are regulations about how you do business fairly in this world. I mean, it's not just a free-for-all. And why college athletics should be the one entity at the magnitude that we are, that should be a free for all escapes me. I mean, I don't get that. I don't think it's sustainable.
I got a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old at home, and it sounds like a lot of stuff that I deal with in terms of, no, you can't have candy all the time.
Exactly.
And also watch whatever TV show. That's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to follow up. We're talking about consequences for student athletes who don't hold up to their end of the bargain. What about from a university standpoint? And because I'm seeing all the scuttlebutt about, and this is not Purdue, the other school saying $21.3 million. So what? We'll blow right past that. What are the consequences for those that choose to not color inside the lines?
That's a great question, and that I think is causing a lot of the angst in people and opinions being expressed that, hey, this isn't working, because there really hasn't been any visible sign of enforcement yet as to the rules and the guidelines that were included in the settlement that we all reached and agreed to and implemented on July 1. Part of that is because the entity that's tasked with doing that enforcement, the College Sports Commission, has really been in sort of a ramp up, structure building, personnel building mode way far too long, to be honest with you. It just is taking way too long. I believe they're at a point now where they do actually have adequate staff in place, and we are getting signals that in fact they are aware of things that have been done that appear to be outside the guidelines of the settlement, and that action will be taken. Well, at some point, it's got to actually happen. Sure, it's got to actually happen for anybody to believe it's real.
Have they given you any indication what the action would be, like what the actual punishment?
Well, there are a whole list of potential penalties for, and they get pretty severe pretty quickly, depending on what the offense and what the actual transgression might be. So it's not without real teeth. Now, again, until it actually happens, nobody believes it at this point in time.
Such a hot topic right now too is everybody pointing to the huge donors that are at these different places, or the big names like down south, or the landman fella from Texas Tech who's really pumping into there. Does Purdue have people like that in the alumni base, and those conversations for you? How do you go about those?
Well, two things on that, Joey. So what gets referred to a lot, and until we get through with the next cycle, it'll really be, we're looking back at history right now. So the January, actually really February, March to June 30th of 2025 was a no rules, no limits, no nothing. I mean, the signal was given by the NCAA and by others, because the settlement was coming on July 1, that anything could get done during that period of time from an NIL perspective, and there would be little to no oversight or enforcement. Now, how that was a good idea, I don't know, but it happened. And that was in that instance is when those folks with really deep pockets came forward and said, hey, this is our chance. And so they laid down whatever it took, whatever people said they needed. Those folks that had the capacity to do so did that. We participated in that same world, not at the high end, but we were in it. I mean, there's the reason we kept our men's basketball roster together. It wasn't purely for the love of Purdue. I got to be honest with you. We were in it like everybody else was.
Right.
We understand what the world is. We did it in football also. We front loaded payments in that period of time because you could.
Right.
But as we look forward, when you hear talk of $25 million, $30 million football rosters, I don't know exactly how that happens within the structure that we have, unless the structure just fails.
Right.
If the structure fails, then those checks can get cashed and get executed. But if the structure works, any dollars that flow on top of rev share are to be done with a fair market, valid business purpose. Basically, there's got to be some substance to the transaction. We're asking Joey, you or Rob, to do something for those dollars, and that something has to be basically commensurate to what we're paying you. I mean, it can't be, hey, we just like you to show up at somebody's birthday party and we're going to give you $500,000 to do that. That's not value for work performed. So it's got to pass some reasonableness test. And so I don't know how you can ever get to $15-20 million on top of the rev share cap that will actually pass muster.
Yeah.
Again, that assumes that the system holds.
Right.
we can't determine that. I know here at Purdue we are aggressively working to develop NIL opportunities. We're being as aggressive as we possibly can, but we're not blatantly disregarding the darn rules and just saying, hey, whatever, anything goes. That's not how we're going to do it at this point until it's proven or determined that the rules don't exist. But right now they exist, and we're gonna be as aggressive as we can, but not just look the other way.
Another thing that's really changed here, Mike, especially in your tenure, 10 years here at Purdue and 30 some years in the business as an AD, the unlimited scholarships now.
Yeah.
It used to be baseball, as you know, was 11.7, softball 11.7. Now it's basically you got to find a way as an athletic department to fund as many scholarships as possible for every single roster. Yes,
absolutely, and I think that's honestly that's a good thing. Yeah. For years, and baseball's a great example. I played it, I coached it, and I've been in this forever. And 11.7 was just such an eye. It's like, how do you? Soccer, men's soccer 9.9, maybe wrestling 9.1. It's like, how in the world did we ever come up with those numbers? And I guess there was a reason for it at a point in time, but as the world has evolved, those reasons became way fuzzier and then nobody can remember them at this point in time. Everybody's aged out, and including damn near me at this point. But I don't remember why those things happened at this point. But now that we have roster limits, so there are still some guidelines. So now it's by sport. There's a roster limit. Gotcha. Football is 105. Men's basketball is 15. Volleyball is 18. Women's basketball is 15. Baseball is 34. You can scholarship up to the roster limit in any sport if you have the capacity and the funding to be able to do so. We started with the baseline of where we were fully funding everything up to the previously established scholarship limits. So if it was 11.7, we had 11.7. If it was 14 in swimming, then we had 14. If it was 18 in track, in women's track and field, we had 18. So we were fully funded up to the existing limits. Now the ability to go beyond that will give us a chance to compete. And so we are going to add in the 26-27 year, I think it's about 55 additional scholarships across our entire program will be added. That doesn't get us to the max in everything because we still need to go out and raise the dollars to be able to fund us to the max in every sport. The good news is scholarship support is something that really resonates with our donor base. I mean, our folks believe in it, thankfully, and we believe in it. We don't ever want to become a program that is purely just transaction based, where it's just, hey, what are you paying me? And to heck with the education part. That does not work at Purdue and never will work, nor should it work in college athletics. I mean, it still is college athletics, although it feels like that gets tested more and more every single day. But I'm grateful that we continue to attract young people that believe in that want the full experience, that understand that the likelihood of them making a living at whatever sport it is they're playing is legitimately this, and the reality that they're going to have to find a way to live a productive and fully fruitful life is really where reality is, so that the education matters. They're doing a great job. I mean, we are literally the last 2 semesters setting records in terms of GPA across our entire student athlete population, which in today's world is really unique because it's become so much more transient and the transfers are so much more prevalent. But the young people that we're getting here are, in credit to not only our young people, but our coaches, our academic staff, for never letting them take the eye off that ball, because that's truly the value that persists that we can provide them. Never mind the ref share and all the other stuff. That's all part of it. We get it. But the lasting value is in that education and what that can do for them over the course of their life.
Is that something that's just kind of innate within the kind of kids that you recruit, that you try to bring here? Or, I mean, because, you got people who are looking and saying, hey, Johnny, who I go to school with, is going to this school, is getting paid, $5.4 million or whatever it is. That's got to be a tough conversation for you guys to have. How do you sway that? Or is it just something you have to say, this is the kind of kid that we recruit?
Yeah, it's a little bit of all of that, Joey. It's not easy. And there are some folks that will self-select out where it is truly just about, hey, how much? And wherever the highest number is, that's where I'm going, whether that place fits me the best or not. And that's, that's a personal choice. And you can't say that's right or wrong. It just is. The good news is that there are clearly enough young people out there that are talented, and that still want more. They want more. They want to be treated fairly from a revenue share and an NIL perspective. And that's an appropriate expectation, but it's not just the only thing they're asking about. I mean, if it's the only thing they're asking about, then it may not work here at Purdue.
Last question I have for about football
Yeah.
before I turn it back over to Rob is, going into year 2,
Yeah.
what would success look like in 2026
Sure.
for year 2 under Coach Odom?
I think success will be certainly winning more football games.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think Barry and I both have that expectation.
Is there sort of a barometer? Do you have a number? Anything like that?
You don't have it. I think it's never really fruitful to put a number on it. I mean, I think we'll all know and see. I think as the season progresses, we'll know whether that progress is being made, and I think it will translate to the scoreboard for sure. I think we'll be able to finish the job in some of these games that we were close in this year, and if we're making progress, we will be able to flip some of those close losses and should have, could have to we did, and that's really what we're looking for this next year. I know coach is intent on winning 7 games, going to a bowl game. I mean, he at least that is at least what he wants to get done next year, and I think that's an appropriate goal for sure. But there'll be a more nuanced evaluation as we just watch the progress and watch the actual competition on the field, and I think that's the right way to do it. I don't think it's never as black and white as, well, if you win this many, you're having a great year, sure, or if you don't, you're not. I mean, I think where we are and how we want to build this thing, we've got to look a little bit deeper than that, but still got to win some more, want to win some more, and I think we will win some more.
So 2 more from me. Number 1, the current model of collegiate athletics, as we sit here, late January 2026.
Yep.
In your opinion, as a guy who's been around it a long time,
Yep.
is this sustainable? You're pausing.
The current model, the current model hasn't truly even fully taken hold yet.
Sure.
So I think the jury is out. And every single day you read somebody else's opinion on what should get done or what's not working. Right. And the thing that is the only consistency amongst all that is every one of those opinions comes from a position of self-interest.
Sure.
Whatever isn't working or whatever they'd like to see happen at some level would be good for whoever's expressing that opinion. Yep. That's the weakness that we have right now, is that we don't have the ability to collectively come up with what's best for the enterprise. It's all what's best for me in the short run. Not how does this thing last? How do we put this thing together in a way that can continue to add great value to the young people that are part of it in all ways, educationally, now financially, and growth as a young person. We need to at some point make decisions that have a longer horizon than, hey, what we think can get us where we need to go in the next year or two. That is not a recipe for sustainable success. So where we are right now, there's a lot of unsettled. There's a lot of angst. You hear it from everybody. Some people are like, well, the cap's too low. We need to get rid of the cap. It's all sorts of opinions. And again, the people that are saying that are the folks that believe that if we did that, it would be good for them. Sure. I mean, who's kidding who? That's the way the world works. Having invested my working career in this enterprise, I would like to see at some point decisions being taken that are with a longer horizon here. How can we put something in place that can last? Because at some point, if you create an entity that feels so out of step and out of touch with where it resides, which is on college campuses, by the way, how can that, is that really sustainable? Can that last? If it just becomes so foreign to what else is going on the campus, I don't know if that's sustainable. And maybe smarter folks than me can figure out a way that makes some sense, or that it can exist or coexist some other way. I haven't seen it yet, to be honest with you. But we suffer from we're reactive to too many lawyers, too many random judges and legislators making decisions that are trying to advantage, in the lawyer's case, their clients. There are lawyers, you can all figure out the names very quickly, who are building a business around all of this. There are state legislators and judges and others that are passing rules or making decisions that favor the entities that are in their jurisdiction. That, again, unsustainable. You can't have 50 different states coming up with 50 different sets of rules and think that you're going to have a national competition that has any sense of equity or fairness. It just doesn't make any sense. And so, having the ability to collectively govern ourselves at some point has got to happen without fear of the next lawsuit. We've been in court for how many years? Lost them all. Lost them all.
Yes.
So at some point, we've got to find a way through all that. And I know people, there's a lot of talk about help from Congress, and that would be wonderful. It's just, how do you get from that concept to actually having that show up as real legislation? No one's cracked that code yet. So it is a very much a turbulent time, and it has been one for a while, and it's got to settle at some point, though, if we're going to sustain this thing over the long haul.
All right. So final question here. It's a little bit out of left field, and this is not meant in a disrespectful manner at all, but why are you still doing this? And the reason I ask is because there are so many folks like you who have made their life's career working in collegiate athletics in the last handful of years who have stepped away from it. High-profile coaches, administrators, men and women who have said that this is not what I signed up for.
Sure.
This is not the collegiate model that when I got into it so many years ago, yet here you still are in it with both feet.
Yeah.
What keeps you coming back?
It's a great question. I don't know what the heck else I would do in the short run here, to be honest with you, because I've been in it for so long. But the reality is that the environment here at Purdue is so good, and I get to work with such great people. Coach Painter, for instance. I mean, watching and being around and being part of that program, and helping them, giving them the tools and resources they need to be successful, and being around the young people that we have. We do it. And to Joey's point earlier, we attract young people that are in for the whole ball of wax. I mean, they are really, really unique young folks. And when you get a chance to be around them and understand and see that they have a bigger picture, they have a bigger purpose in mind for themselves and for their lives, it's motivating. It gives you hope that, hey, we haven't lost this thing completely. Now we're trying like hell to lose it. By all indications, but it can still exist. It can still get done. Does that mean that I'm going to do it forever? No, I'm not. I mean, there's an end to everything, and that's the way the world works, and that's the way it should be. But it's if it was that miserable, I'd have called the question here, a couple of years ago. But the showing up here at Purdue every day has still got real value and real satisfaction, because we are doing things in a way that I feel like it still respects the way college athletics was meant to be executed and performed, and with really terrific young people and coaches.
Mike, this is our first time talking, and my wife cheered at Purdue. She was here until 2018, and it's a big episode for us to have the big AD on, and so I was leaving today, and she said, "Hey, he's not scary." So she's been around you. She wanted to reassure me that he's a good guy. He's not scary, and in fact, you weren't. So we appreciate you being here.
Good. My pleasure. It's fun. It's fun to do it. And, and again, I think no one has all the answers. I mean, I would be, hell, we're all trying to get this thing figured out. My hope is that, again, as I think I've made the point 12 times here, just at some point we have to do something that we all believe is good for the whole. And if that means everybody's got to give up a little something, there's got to be a little discomfort for everybody. I think that's not unreasonable to ask, because if it's, it just can't be no rules, no limits, no anything. That just does not work, will not work, and will run a really, really good thing aground if we allow that to be the case.
Mike Bobinski has an impressive resume, but now to add to that, the first guest in 2026 of the For Pete's Sake podcast.
Starting with a bang.
Yeah.
We'll have you back Final Four weekend. We'll do it then. Right.
Let's do it.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, guys. Thank you.
That's our big interview segment brought to you by our Central Indiana Ford dealers. We pause for a moment. When we come back, another big guest about to join us. About 6'9" or so of a guest.
Yeah.
Trey Kaufman-Renn of Purdue men's basketball is next. This is For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. And again, a huge thank you to Mike Bobinski joining us in our last segment. to talk about any and all things Purdue athletics. Now let us focus a bit more specifically, shall we? Like on men's basketball and our fourth-ranked Purdue men's basketball team. The Boilermakers coming off their West Coast swing, winning at USC, losing against UCLA, and now looking ahead to a matchup on Saturday against another top 25 team in the Illinois Fighting Illini. As we promised, our special guest here on For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics, is the guy sitting to our immediate left, the fifth-year senior, Trey Kaufman-Renn. Just a few nuggets on Trey. Over 1,300 points scored, over 600 rebounds, first team All-Big Ten last year, this year preseason All-Big Ten, this year also third team preseason All-American, and college graduate, as he already has earned his degree in philosophy. Trey, welcome, and congratulations on the college degree, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I have to start. We have a lot of basketball to talk with you about, but I have to start with philosophy. Why that is your chosen degree?
I loved it. When I came in here, I kind of did like an exploratory type of major. And then I had a class, it was a transformative text class, and one of the classes was taught by a philosophy professor. And just the things we learned in the class, I kind of thought about by myself already, and I was like, wow, you could get a degree doing this. So that's what I decided to do.
Has the philosophy major helped kind of with the mentals of the grind of a basketball season, the pressure that comes with being a player like yourself in a program like this?
No doubt. I think it goes both ways. Sometimes you overthink things sometimes, but it's also, it gives you a lot of mental tools to succeed in basketball and high level college sports.
Do your teammates get sick? Do you kind of try to implement it on them at all? They get tired of you coming in with some night?
No. I try to stick with basketball when I'm around the team.
I didn't know if you're getting up in front of everybody and, hey, this is how we're going to, everybody relax.
Every once in a while, I'll say something, but for the most part, no.
Okay.
You are one of the more interesting stories in the history of Purdue basketball in the way you started your career. And that is, you started as a redshirt. If I remember correctly, you're coming in as Indiana Gatorade Player of the Year, High School Player of the Year in the state of Indiana. Your credentials certainly were not those that would suggest a guy would redshirt. Normally, guys with your credentials went on the floor right away, and they want to play 30 minutes, and they want to take all the shots. But you said, you know what? I think what's best for my career is to take a red shirt. That to me was quite a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on why indeed you did choose to take that red shirt right out of the gate?
Yeah, well, I spent a lot of time during recruiting, looking at the schools and looking how they develop players. And I had faith in Coach Painter and the staff at Purdue that, over the long run that I was going to have a successful career, and set myself up for, to win a national championship and to play in the NBA. And so, I think I've done those things.
You coming off, like Rob mentioned, tough one at UCLA, split that West Coast trip. But I kind of talked before we got on air here, is it kind of feels like the dog days of January, if you will. As your time, as you've become more of a veteran presence, you start to feel a little bit of that where there's not so much panic, not so much worry. Hey, it didn't bounce our way that night, but we got kind of a marathon here instead of a sprint.
Yeah, no doubt. Especially with the younger guys, just telling them it's one game at a time. Try not to be too high, too low. Because like you said, I've done it for so long at this point that, you realize you're trying to be your best, during March. And, obviously you want to win every game. You want to play as good as you can every, outing. But sometimes you lose. Sometimes, a ball bounces different and you win that game. So, you just, like I said, you try your best and you try to just keep improving every day.
I'm about to share a secret with our listeners. So, by the way, a real benefit of paying attention to the For Pete's Sake podcast, because you get inside things you wouldn't get otherwise. And by the way, Trey, I hope you don't mind me sharing this story, but when you got on the bus after the UCLA loss on Tuesday night, I beg your pardon, I heard you say out loud, and I don't know who you were talking to, whether it was your teammates, yourself, everyone on the bus, but you said social media, the worst place to go after a loss. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I bring that up because as a guy in your position, student athlete, college age young man, social media is such a huge part of your everyday life. It just is. Whether you're an athlete or not. How do you find yourself I guess, relegating yourself or maybe finding a way to balance that social media, good, bad, ugly, and yet still try to function as an everyday college student athlete and get the best out of yourself without paying attention to all the outside noise?
Yeah, right. It's super difficult. Like I said, especially now, I try to minimize it as much as possible. I have to be on social media for, NIL deals, representing in that category. But besides that, I try to, most of that stuff I actually leave to my mom. And so we kind of have a team in that department there. But yeah, I try to minimize as much as possible. Every study shows how awful it is for you. So it's one of those things. It's like, whether it be, getting 8 hours of sleep, hydrating, like we know how beneficial those things. We know how beneficial not being on social media is for you as an athlete, as just a person in general. And so I don't know, I take it seriously. I take those studies seriously, and I just try to live my life that way.
I've had Coach Banner on a couple times, and beginning of the season, and he mentioned, how it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment for you when you got somebody like Oscar coming in, playing the role that you played last year, as opposed to what you're playing this year when you got a guy like Oscar Clough down there with you. How has that transition been for you? Do you feel like you're coming around to it? Has it been more difficult? How's it been?
Yeah, there's been a lot of ups and downs as far as like just figuring out what I need to do. I feel like I've been kind of in a unique position that every year at Purdue I've had a different role.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people come in, not a lot of players in basketball come in and have different roles every single year they are in college. And so I'm playing a completely different game than I did last year. And so like it takes adjusting. It takes adjusting to spacing, plays. Last year it was, I would say, a little bit easier in the sense that like I've always been like a go-to guy when it comes to scoring. I've always played the 5 growing up. Right. And I've also always been like the go-to guy when it comes to scoring. And so because of that, like that role came more naturally. This year, I feel like there's been, just some games or some times where it's been, whether it be the spacing or this, that, and the other, I felt more like it was harder to adjust. But like this year, I'm more of a distributor, more of a rebounder, more of just different things on the basketball court. And so like as the season goes on, I'm growing and trying to learn and trying to watch film and get better every day with that. But, it is difficult because the path to success as a player isn't linear, right? It's just because I had a good year last year or I had a good year my sophomore year. Like it doesn't mean I'm in a bit different role. So It doesn't mean you're automatically going to have a great year the next year.
Well, that sophomore year, you're playing alongside a guy named Zach Edey. So you were at the 4, he was at the 5. You played against some really good players, Trey, either here at Purdue or, quite frankly, they were playing for other teams. Is Zach the best player you've ever played against?
Man, that's tough. I've played, like you said, against a lot of players. Zach or Braden, for sure.
Yeah.
It's difficult. I think Braden affects the game in so many different ways that, I don't know, Zach was so dominant on the basketball court.
Yeah.
In specific areas, but the way Braden affects the game and offensively, defensively, energy, that's also hard to match. So I think it's probably a tie between those two.
Did you play against Braden in high school at all? AAU circuit, Indiana?
Into the All-Star game, Indiana All-Star game.
You played with, you were teammates then on that?
No, I played against him. Yes.
Oh,
he was on the.
He would have been junior All-Star.
On the
junior, that's right, because you're ahead. Okay. Did you ever, at that time, could you have pictured, hey, me and him are about to go up and make some history at Purdue together and be in this thing for the long haul together?
I didn't know that. I also didn't know who he was or who he was being recruited by.
Yeah.
At the time. But I didn't know he was special as soon as he stepped on the floor. He looked at the game differently, and you could already tell. Just some of the passes he was making, some of the decisions he was making on the basketball floor. I did remember that. I think I told him a while back. Like I said, I'm not very. I'm more of an introvert, and so I'm more just focused on what we need to do to win. How do I get better? And so I'm not really into the rankings and who's who and that type of thing. But him just seeing him on the floor at that time was really cool.
So 5 years at Purdue basketball, you're probably going to have as much insight as anyone to this question. Here we are as a team, 19 games into the season, basically 2/3 of the way through the regular season. If you could give the Purdue 2/3 of the way scouting report on your team, on our Boilermakers, and say, this is what we're doing well, but this is what we must improve upon to make that final 1/3 of the season and beyond special, what are your answers to those questions?
I think role definition is getting a little bit better now. I mean, obviously, when you go through a season, it gets better and better, but I think everybody is starting to understand we don't have a traditional motion or, all the time, but I feel like some of the actions we do, some of the, actions we're trying to get to are repetitive. And so I think everybody's starting to figure out exactly the right spots they need to be in. And we're starting to gel on the court as well as off the court. Some things I guess we need to improve on. I just think concentration and following the scouting report. Just making sure we're doing all the little things. Like I said, I think this is probably the most talented overall team that I've been on. So, when we control the controllables, I think we'll be really successful.
I asked Braden this when he was on, both of you on that Final Four team from 2024. Now where we are, similar to what Rob was asking at this point in the season, late January. So far, what have you noticed? Any similarities, any differences from this squad to that 2024 Final Four squad? Of course, Zach Edey's not here. He mentioned that off the front. That's a big one, literally and figuratively. But similarities, differences that you've maybe picked up on so far?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we play a little bit differently. Obviously, like I said, we don't have Zach, but at the same time, I think just the depth in each team. I feel like when we went to the bench and both, this year and then we didn't lose a lot. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing now. Like when we go to our bench and, some players get on the floor, we don't lose a lot. We're just as successful. And I think that's really helpful. When, I remember when we played UConn, I always tell the story, like the thing about them was it felt like everybody was averaging 10 to 12 points.
Yeah.
And so like that's hard to scout against, right? When anybody can go off at any time, you can't build a defense around everybody on the floor. And so it's just, that's the most difficult. And I feel like that's the team we have this year.
Final one from me. You, and quite frankly, your senior classmates, and speaking Fletcher and Braden specifically, have been very open, very honest, very vocal since the offseason that a national championship is the whole reason you guys stuck around, one of the main reasons. With that being said, do you still feel like this group can get that goal accomplished?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I don't think it's even a question. I think like I said, we're as talented as anybody. I think we have, like I said, the best players. I think we have the best coaching staff. So now it's just, we got to get to that point and put ourselves in the best position.
Works for me, man. I know you got to run. Yeah.
We got to get him off to practice.
Yeah.
Believe it or not,
It's important.
they do have these things called practices, everyone, for our student athletes here at Purdue. Trey, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you being a part of the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, TK.
Trey Kaufman-Renn joining us here on For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. We have one final segment to speak of when we come back, so stay with us. I'm Rob, he's Joey, and this is For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. One final segment here For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. It is brought to you by the Tom Wood Automotive Group. Rob and Joey here to put the finishing touches on this one. We give out a huge thank you to Mike Bobinski for giving us some time to talk about all things Purdue athletics. And a big thanks to Trey Kaufman-Renn as well, who we interrupted his day a little bit to get him on the show before he headed over to practice as the Boilermakers are prepping for Illinois. So a huge thank you to both of them. Joey, what did we learn on this episode?
Few things. One, from Mr. Mike Bobinski, I learned that there is a fine line and a definitive line of what a Purdue athlete who a Purdue athlete is, what they're looking for in a Purdue athlete when they're recruiting, and the kind of programs that they're trying to build, not just with football, but across the board athletically. And that is a interesting line to walk nowadays when you have so much going on with the NIL and the portal and so many people just being transactional. I'd say that's the thing that I took from the most with Mike, is that Purdue is not looking to be transactional. Purdue is looking to have a standard that is sustainable, with people coming back year in and year out, valuing education, valuing West Lafayette and the greater community and the Purdue community as well. And I think that's a big thing when you look ahead to not only football, like I said, but just the future of Purdue athletics as well. Something to keep in mind there. Learn that there isn't a definitive number. There's not a line that he's looking for in success for year number 2 under Coach Odom. It isn't a, hey, we got to get to 6 wins, we got to get to 7 wins, we got to go bowling, anything like that. It's kind of a know it when you see it. And then from Trey Kaufman-Renn, he said that this team, he thinks, is the most talented team that he's ever been a part of. Yep. And that is including the team led by Zach Edey, right, who made their way down to Phoenix for the Final Four a couple of years ago. So something to keep in mind coming off of the loss on the road against UCLA. A big one coming up in Mackey. Hope to see everybody there. I'll be there, weather permitting, I guess. Hopefully that cooperates against Illinois coming up. But you know, it's tough in times when you're coming off of a loss on the road. Everybody, of course, is what's wrong, what's going on, what do we do? Are we screwed? I don't know. Everybody's scared. But just remember that Trey said he has faith and he believes this is the most talented team that he's ever been a part of.
So you're telling me one loss to UCLA doesn't cancel the rest of the season? Am I hearing you correctly? We don't just cancel the rest of the season.
Playing on Saturday.
Okay.
Game's going on Saturday.
I sometimes worry about, not all of our fans, but a few.
Sure.
Afraid after a loss, maybe just the season's over.
What about you? Anything else that you took away from that differing from me?
Well, I'm around TK a lot, so
Yep.
I not that I didn't enjoy our conversation, but I get to speak with him a lot. But Mike Bobinski, I did really enjoy that. And there are some... and I thought he was very open and honest and transparent about, the football program and let's get this thing going the right direction. And the world that we are now in of NIL and of revenue sharing and of transfer portal and all the things that you have to navigate. And I was being very sincere in that final question I had for him about why are you still here, and not here being Purdue in this rat race that we now call college athletics, because a guy his age and with his tenure could easily walk away right now and say, wipe his hands clean, have so many have done in his position. But the fact that he's still hanging in there, and as I said, he's in with both feet, I do greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'm sure as heck has changed a lot in his tenure in college athletics, and he spoke to that. But I have faith that, and again, everybody I think is so focused, and a lot of our conversation was focused on the football program, rightfully so. We know what the football program does for a school, for university. But then you look at the rest of the athletics that we talk about in the Lafayette Limo liftoff segment, right? There's a lot of success going on in Purdue, and it deserves to be celebrated as well.
Speaking of changes, we'll close it with this. Do you think when he started his tenure as an athletic director 33 years ago, if someone would have stopped him and said, one of these days you're going to be doing a podcast, what do you think his answer would have been?
Maybe you thought of something from Star Wars or something. You look into the
future. It is a podcast.
I'll be in something? Okay, a pod of some sort? Got it. Yeah, no, I mean, that's changed as well, but we're happy as all get out to be able to have some time with him.
To be honest, fans, I'm 55 years old. I'm still not certain what a podcast is, yet here I am as a co-host of this particular program. Huge thank you to our executive producer of the For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics. He is Patrick Crawford. Huge thanks to our producer, Corey Palm. Huge thank you to our director, Brad Summer, and to the folks who do the heavy lifting behind the scenes. Today, Quan and Brooke and Rosie, we say thank you to them, and we say thank you to you for joining us here on episode number 10 of For Pete's Sake, the official podcast of Purdue Athletics.
Boiler up.